Alright, we are live, ladies and germs. And yes, this review is coming a week late, I know. But shit's been really busy the past week or so. So I've kind of had to put this on the back burner, but I want to get it done and over with. Because we got Talladega coming up here in a couple hours. So, lots of stuff to get through here. Because I can't put off the news of the week anymore because it's just building up and up and up. So we're going to go through all that and more here. So saddle up, lock and load. This is the fuel. What's happening, ladies and germs? This is the Packer Man, and welcome to today's what could be first of two editions of the Fuel. Where in this first edition we're going to be talking about the 2022 Food City Dirt Race. Now, what did I personally think of the Food City Dirt Race? I thought it was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything that blew your mind, you know. But despite the fact that we went through 2 rain delays, yes, 2. The race turned out to be pretty alright. I thought it was, I'll tell you this much, it was a hell of a lot better than Martinsville, I'll tell you that much. I mean, it wasn't filled with all the lead changes. We actually didn't see a pure lead change until the last lap of the race, which ended up being a huge talking point. But, I would say overall it was a solid race, and it certainly got the viewership numbers. Which is why it's going to be coming back next year, and we're going to be talking more about that here in a little bit. But obviously the huge talking point from this race was the finish, so we're just going to jump right to that because there's a lot of stuff I got to talk about in terms of that. But obviously the finish was the huge talking point with Chase Briscoe basically trying to pull the slide job move on Tyler Reddick to try to get the race win. Obviously it didn't work out so well, and Kyle Busch ended up snookering the win as a result, with Reddick finishing in second once again. And of course, it seemed like there were a lot of people that were, slamming Chase Briscoe. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you would do such a move when it wasn't going to work, and all that other stuff, which is to be expected. But on one of the Discords that I frequent, I was basically like, and yet, my response was, and yet, if he didn't go for the win, the response would have been, the guy's a pussy. That's basically what it would have been. And that's basically what it would have been throughout the entirety of the NASCAR community. It's like, you didn't even try to go for the win there. I mean, what's the point of even being a race car driver if you're not going to go for the win? I guarantee you that's what the feeling would have been. And there was someone who responded to me and said, this coming from someone who almost stopped watching racing because of Kevin Harvick. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion. No need to be hostile. And I want to address that real quick. And by the way, the person who said that message, someone I respect, damn it, I lost my train of thought. I'm a little bit tired. It's been a busy morning. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for this person. So there's no ill will whatsoever. But I do just want to address that real quick right here, right now. And, I just want to try to say it as, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm still going to give my, honest rebuttal, but I'm going to be respectful about it. So, part where he's saying that everyone's allowed to have an opinion, I mean, yeah. I'm not saying that people aren't allowed to have an opinion. I'm not sure why that needed to be brought up, but yeah, I understand that everybody can have an opinion. But at the same time, I'm allowed to disagree with said opinion, as you are allowed to disagree with mine. It is what it is. And the one part where he says there's no need to be hostile, I wasn't. I wasn't trying to be hostile. I was just stating a fact. As fickle as this fan base can be, you know damn well that if he didn't go for the win, he would have been slammed for it, saying, oh, well, he shouldn't even be a race car driver if he doesn't go for the win. So, it's a case of damned if you do and damned if you don't. If he doesn't go for it, he's labeled a pussy. And if he does go for it, and we saw what happened, with the slide job that didn't turn out so well, then he's labeled an idiot. But I would rather him try to go for the win than lay back and, finish second and be done with it. Because I remember, I think it was the Daytona 400-mile race. I forget what year it was. It was the year that David Reagan was driving the 6 car. I'm trying to remember what year that was. When did David Reagan win the Daytona 400 when he was driving the 6 car? Oh, man. When was that? It had to have been somewhere around 2015. Actually, you know what? Racing Reference can do that. So, David Reagan. Cup statistics. 2011? Was that when it was? 2011? Oh my god, it was 2011. Holy shit. Can't believe it was that long ago. Yeah, it was the Coke 0400 at Daytona. David Reagan won the race, and his teammate Matt Kenseth had probably had a shot to win that race and didn't even attempt to make a run at it. Didn't even attempt to try to go for it, and he got so much flack for it. It's like, man, he didn't even try to go for the win. Like, what the fuck, man? So, it goes both ways. Either you go for it, you take the guy out, even if it wasn't the intention, which in Chase Briscoe's case, it clearly wasn't the intention. But even if it wasn't the intention, you're still going to get flack for it. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't go for it, then you're labeled a pussy. So, it's kind of a no-win situation in that case. And then the last comment about, me saying that I almost stopped watching because of Kevin Harvick. That's not necessarily the case. And I think the reason why he brought that up is because he was basically comparing the situation that we saw last week at Bristol, the finish, to what happened at Talladega in 2015. And here's the fact of the matter, is that you can't really compare the two. It's an apples and oranges comparison. And why do I say that? Well, what happened, last Sunday was Chase Briscoe trying to make a bonsai move to try to get by Tyler Reddick, or at the very least pull even with him and drag race him down the front stretch to try to get the win. Whereas 2015 Talladega, Kevin Harvick basically wrecked the entire field to save his championship hopes, and ultimately succeeded to a certain extent. He didn't actually win the championship, but I think he did make it to the Final Four. One scenario basically happens on a semi-regular basis on a dirt track Saturday night. The other one is a cardinal sin to motorsports. So that's the one thing. Number two, it wasn't Kevin Harvick's actions that nearly resulted in me stopping watching NASCAR for good. It was NASCAR's unwillingness to do a damn thing about it. And what really pissed me off about it was the fact that they had set a precedent for race manipulation only 2 years earlier. Y'all remember Spingate from Richmond 2013, when members of Michael Waltrip Racing at that time basically conspired to manipulate the outcome of that race to help Martin Truex Jr. get into the chase that year. And when NASCAR found out about it, they basically threw the book at Michael Waltrip Racing, resulting in fines and penalties, including points penalties that knocked Truex out of the chase. I think Michael Waltrip Racing was slapped with like a $300,000 fine or something ridiculous like that. But it also resulted in sponsors saying, you know what, I don't want to be a part of that shit. And it eventually led to the demise of Michael Waltrip Racing. So a precedent had been set at that point. And the fact that Kevin Harvick essentially got away with murder just pissed me off so much that I actually did end up not watching NASCAR for over 2 years, because it's like, it was pretty obvious what Kevin Harvick did. I mean, I would say it was even more obvious than what happened at Richmond with Spingate, because Harvick's engine was failing. If that final restart had gone green, he would not have finished as high up as he did, and he would have been eliminated from the playoff in that round. So what did he do? He ended up causing a major accident that he somehow miraculously avoided, despite it happening all around him. No other car happened to touch him. And he finished like 14th or something and squeaked by and into the next round of the playoff. And that was another thing that Harvick was under investigation for, like not necessarily himself, but the car had some type of potential infraction as well. I forget what it was. It was something to do with the body or something like that that NASCAR was investigating. And I'm going to be completely honest. When Tuesday rolled around, which is typically penalty day for NASCAR, I was honestly expecting, some type of penalty that would have knocked Harvick out of the chase entirely because of race manipulation. And when NASCAR announced that there would be no penalties whatsoever for Kevin Harvick or the 4 team, let me tell you something. I felt a sickness in my stomach, the likes of which I had never felt before. Like, this guy straight up manipulated the end of a race to save his precious championship hopes. And we've seen that NASCAR had set a precedent with Spingate that they were willing to throw the book at somebody over race manipulation. And yet you have a situation that looked even more obvious than Spingate, and yet NASCAR chose not to do a damn thing. And for those that have been wondering why I don't really trust NASCAR officialdom anymore, it all stems from Talladega 2015. Because after that, it's like, how can you even trust the officials to do the right thing? The answer is you can't. And I was so completely disgusted by it. And here's the thing. 2015 was a garbage year anyway. I mean, did you watch Michigan that year? When they had that stupid downforce package that they had for that one Michigan race? Oh my God. that was a chore to watch. And of course, you had the dumb shit at Talladega. I mean, 2015 was just an unmitigated disaster. I mean, a lot of the races were garbage. It just felt like there was no good racing whatsoever. I mean, 2015 was just a bad year. And it damn near caused me to stop watching NASCAR completely. And I did stop watching completely for over 2 years. I did not watch a single race. I did not care. It's like, you know what? I need to take a break from NASCAR for a while, because it's like, this is just too much. And it wasn't until Homestead 2017, when Martin Truex Jr. won the championship, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get back into it and see what's up. So I started watching again in 2018. The first half of that year was shit. It got better as the year went on. And then, of course, I started The Fuel in 2019. Of course, it started as Final Analysis, which I don't know why the hell I called it that. Such a dumb name, and it didn't sound like anything like motorsports whatsoever. But now you know it as The Fuel, which I changed it to it in like the 12th episode, I think, when I was reviewing the Coca-Cola 600 and the Indianapolis 500. And it's been that way ever since. And we're now into our 134th episode. It's a lot of fucking episodes, especially for a review show. But, yeah, that's basically the whole gist of... I mean, I know I've told the story before, but that's basically the whole gist of, you know, the whole Kevin Harvick thing. It wasn't necessarily what he did. It was NASCAR's... It was what NASCAR didn't do, and that was... They didn't do shit. And that's really what that was really the straw that broke the camel's back. Kevin Harvick doing what he did was a big catalyst, but NASCAR refusing to do anything about it, that was the last straw. And it caused me to stop watching NASCAR for over 2 years. So, that's the whole gist on that one. But getting back to the whole Chase Briscoe, Tyler Reddick thing. Of course, it led to a pretty crazy finish. And you would expect that, you know, after what we saw at Martinsville, that Tyler Reddick would have been somewhat pissed off, you know, about the fact that he had his maiden win taken away from him. Because who wouldn't be pissed off? And I guess he was to an extent, but he was more mad at himself, because he was like, he was mainly blaming himself for even allowing Chase Briscoe to get close enough to make that move. And, you know, we were watching that, me and my parents were watching the race, and we watched the end of that, and it's like, he didn't really do anything wrong. Because, you know, what had happened was they had run up on lap cars, which they hadn't done that entire race. So this was kind of a new thing. You know, these guys are running across lap traffic here at the end of the race. So you kind of didn't know, you know, what was going to happen there. And I think that allowed Briscoe to close in to try to make that move. But then we got down to, you know, Tyler Reddick being interviewed. And then all of a sudden Chase Briscoe comes up. And he was walking over there and he was being interviewed by someone else. He was like, yeah, if hands are thrown, you know, I understand, you know. But as it turned out, Tyler Reddick and Briscoe, you know, actually talked it out, man to man. You know, and Briscoe was like, you know, that was on me. I was going for the win, and you know, I tried to go for it, and it didn't work, and that was my bad. I apologize. You know, I ripped Briscoe for what he did after the Indianapolis road course race, and that one was deserved as far as I'm concerned, because, you know, because there were a lot of people who are like, well, he does that all the time, you know, wrecking the leader. There's a difference between intentionally wrecking someone and going for the win, and wrecking someone was collateral damage. There's a major difference, because one has intent, the other does not. And therein lies the difference. So I basically tore Briscoe apart for him wrecking Hamlin at Indianapolis last year. And trust me, I'm not the biggest fan of Hamlin either, but what Briscoe did was wrong. Okay? Because he felt like Hamlin basically ran him into the grass and he got the penalty for cutting the course. It wasn't Hamlin that he should have been mad at. It was A.J. Allmendinger who ran into Hamlin and shoved him into Briscoe. That's who he should have been pointing the finger at. And that's who he should have been mad at. But in this case, I mean, he knew he fucked up. But, I mean, was it an ill-advised move for him to make going for the win like that? Perhaps. But it's a move that is usually done, on dirt tracks. And even Tyler Reddick himself on the radio afterwards said, yeah, I would have done the same thing. So he understood it. And he understood what Briscoe was trying to do. He wasn't trying to wreck him intentionally. If he wanted to do that, he would have gotten up right to his bumper and spun him out and been done with it. You know what I mean? But that wasn't what Briscoe was trying to do. He was just trying to pull a slide job move, or at the very least, get up alongside Reddick, and they would have, a beating and banging, door crunching race to the finish. But unfortunately, excuse me, I need to get a bottle of water here. Unfortunately, that's not exactly what happened. But Reddick understood why Briscoe did what he did, and they shook hands, and that was the end of it. And I was like, you know what? That right there earns respect. Because Briscoe, and here's the other thing too. Briscoe didn't wait until days after it happened and send a text message or try to call or any of that shit that we see nowadays. No, he wanted to take care of the problem right then and there. So he made the walk down pit road, and he was ready to face the music. I mean, he even said himself he was prepared to say, he was saying he was prepared to receive a punch from Tyler Reddick because. I mean, he would have deserved it, and he would have understood it. But that's not what happened, because Reddick understood why Briscoe did what he did, which is why the discussion was as cordial as it could have been. You know what I mean? And I think the two have raced against each other long before they joined NASCAR. I mean, both have dirt backgrounds. And they've probably been racing against each other on dirt way before they joined NASCAR, and of course they've been racing against each other since the Xfinity Series. So, I mean, I think there's a certain amount of respect that the two have for each other. And they're probably good friends on top of that. So, it was kind of like an is what it is kind of thing. It's a racing deal. It wasn't like Briscoe was trying to take Reddick out intentionally. He was going for the win. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that what a race car driver's job is to try to go for the win? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what the job of a race car driver is to try to go for the win, which is what Briscoe was trying to do. It ultimately didn't work, but at least he went for it, and Reddick understood that. But one person that didn't seem to understand the cordialness, at least initially, on pit road was Eric Estep, a guy that I have a lot of respect for, and that I've been subscribed to for years, and I love his content. I'm full disclosure here, I absolutely love his content. One of the most positive guys in the NASCAR community, and I respect the fact that he has built his channel into something of a juggernaut. I mean, he's closing in on 200,000 subscribers, and for a NASCAR tuber, that is massive. I mean, there aren't very many NASCAR tubers that have a viewership base that big. So I respect him for basically turning, his YouTube channel into basically his full-time job. He gets, sponsorships for his videos and all that stuff. He gets to go to races, and he even gets to do like interviews with drivers and, cool stuff like that. So I have a lot of respect for him. But it just seems like once or twice a year, he gives a take that leaves me scratching my head. It really does. I mean, in 2019, he was talking about how Indianapolis Road, the Brickyard 400 in 2019 was a great race. He gave it I think like a 60 on the groovy gauge, and I looked at him and I was just like, huh? That race was garbage. I mean, he was mainly looking at the battle for 16th for the final spot in the playoff, which, it's whatever. But I said at the time that I'm not going to be interested in the battle for the final playoff spot because there's no point. The guy who barely makes it into the playoff is going to be lucky to get out of the first round. He didn't, which completely rendered that whole exciting race for the final playoff spot completely meaningless. I really don't know if he had any bad takes in 2020. I don't really think he did, to be honest. But then we had last year where he basically talked out of both sides of his mouth with the tire deal at Kansas. The one where a tire rolled out into the grass and NASCAR let an entire green flag pit stop cycle go through and then threw the caution like 15 laps afterwards, which was absolutely stupid. And Eric in one side said that NASCAR should have been called out for race manipulation, but then in the same breath praised NASCAR for making the right call and calling the caution. And I'm just kind of like, no, that's not how it works. I mean, you can't say in one breath that they deserve to be criticized for not calling the caution, and then in the same breath praise them for calling the caution. I mean, you're not making any sense at that point. Well, give me 1 second here, because I'm going to put this up, because I mean, this take really made me scratch my head here. All right, give me 1 second here. Alright, I got it now. So, I'm going to mute my... If you can hear me. I'm going to mute my mic for a second, because I'm going to let you guys watch this portion of the video that I'm talking about. And I'm going to basically give my take on it, and then I'm going to talk about how he kind of backpedaled on said reaction. So I'm going to mute my mic for a second so you guys can watch this. But here was Eric's reaction to Tyler and Chase's interaction on pit road. Alright, so the first two are obviously viewership numbers. Richmond managed to pull in 3.958 million viewers, which is right around, typically what you see for NASCAR this year. It's been around 4 million viewers on average. Which is why Martinsville was a little bit surprising to some people, because it's like they only pulled in a little less than 2 million viewers, and everybody was panicking, like, oh my god, what's going on? They were on FS1. And not a whole lot of people have FS1. At least not a lot of NASCAR fans. So I didn't really think it was much to worry about. I mean, it was on FS1. FS1 is not widely available to everybody. So I think everybody was making a mountain out of a molehill there. NASCAR explains the delay in the Kyle Busch penalty at Richmond. Let me find it here. It's on NASCAR.NBCSports.com. And they explained the delay in assessing a penalty or Kyle Busch at Richmond for tape on the grill, which is no longer allowed. So a NASCAR official explained why it took more than 200 laps to assess a penalty to Kyle Busch's team for having tape on the front grill of the car last weekend, 2 weeks ago now, at Richmond. Brad Moran, Cup Series Managing Director, gave the explanation to SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. So, why did it take so long to issue the penalty? Because Busch was penalized on lap 345 while the infraction happened on lap 128. That's more than half the race. Moran said the tower was notified of the possible infraction on lap 234, more than 100 laps after the infraction happened, by a pit road official, and officials had to discover how the tape ended up on the grill. We certainly needed to do our due diligence on how it got there, what it really was, so we went back while the race was going on and did our due diligence to ensure, first of all, that the team placed the tape on the grill area. We did go back, found footage, found what we needed to say. Yes, the team actually put it on. Unfortunately, they had a couple of stops, which they could have pulled it off, and we probably wouldn't even be talking about it today. That didn't happen. We got notification around lap 234, and it took a bit of time. Obviously, a lot of green flag racing at a 3/4 mile track. It takes a while to pull all that up, and we do our due diligence. The last thing we're going to do is bring a vehicle down and find out later that was something picked up off the track, or they grabbed it on pit road, or something to that fact. Once everything was sorted out, we did see how it happened and where it was, and the crew chief was notified that it has to be removed. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. You said that you were trying to do your due diligence. Dude, these pit crews, these pit boxes have video cameras pointed down at the box now. You're telling me that, and not only that, the tape was bright neon green. You're telling me that nobody noticed that for 200 goddamn laps? Somebody on pit road had to have noticed it on TV and brought it to NASCAR's attention, because there is no way on God's green earth it took NASCAR over half the fucking race to make that call. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. In a more serious bit of news, Hailie Deegan's boyfriend is being threatened by a fan. This is also on NASCAR.NBCSports.com. Hailie Deegan, and I think she also said this on her YouTube channel. Hailie Deegan says catfished fan is threatening to kill her boyfriend. And it was a video posted, I guess, Monday. She skipped an event in Florida this past weekend because an obsessed fan allegedly threatened to kill her boyfriend, Chase Cabre. I think that's how you pronounce it. Cabre? Is that how it is? Deegan and Cabre detailed the threats received in a 15-minute video titled, "Our Lives Are Being Threatened." The video with Deegan and Cabre included an altered audio recording threatening Cabre that they said came from the individual. The video included threatening messages they said were sent by the same person to Cabre. Deegan also said that the person sent an 8-page handwritten letter to David Gilliland Racing, the Camping World Truck Series team Deegan drives for this season, stating that he was dating me and in a relationship with me for multiple months, and how he was just like in love with me and infatuated with me, and I was his soulmate, and it kind of scared me a little bit. The couple said the person was caught in a catfishing scheme by a fake Deegan account on social media. This account went into the effect of saying, oh, it's all a fake relationship, it's just straight business relationship. He pretty much makes me do everything, practically being held hostage, and he beats me, physically abuses me, and none of that is true, Deegan said in the video. It makes them feel a lot of anger towards Chase, which if the situation was real would be understandable, but it's not. So this guy ends up getting wrapped in this whole deal, believing Chase beats me. I wouldn't really be worried about this if the fact wasn't this person. This guy lives near my race shop, near where I live, my house, and it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me scared. You shouldn't be scared in your own house. I would keep kind of an eye on his posts because of the stalker situations I've dealt with in the past. The day that it pretty much changed was a few days ago when he posted stuff saying he was practically going to come kill Chase. His exact words were not going to kill Chase, but he's going to come and he's going to be the last thing Chase ever sees. Deegan and Cabre notified the police and said an officer had been stationed outside their home overnight. They also said they've had conversations with the FBI and NASCAR security about the matter. Deegan said she became aware of the individual's social media postings in December. Cabre, Deegan, and Deegan's father, famed motocross racer Brian Deegan, have all tried to tell the individual there's no truth about what the fake account is stating to him to no avail. Deegan will compete in Thursday night's Camping World Truck Series race at Martinsville. This horse was between Richmond and Martinsville. A NASCAR spokesperson told NBC News, "We have measures in place to increase her safety on and off the racetrack." I don't know who this person is, but seriously, get some fucking mental help, dude. Like, that's ridiculous. I mean, a lot of people might not like Hailie Deegan, but seriously, threatening to kill her boyfriend over stuff that didn't happen is fucking stupid. Okay? I'm just going to say that right now. Anyways, the 6 team, the penalty that they had, which was a pretty massive penalty, over a 100-point penalty and like a $100,000 fine. Apparently, it was a repaired tail panel that was not in alignment with what NASCAR wanted. So, Brad Keselowski was asked by The Athletic on what NASCAR found on the number 6 car that led to major penalties against his team. And here was his response. We had a panel that we had prepared, a tail panel, and it had a key feature that NASCAR deemed that was not repaired adequately enough. And it's a tough situation. We didn't want to run the tail panel. We didn't have any new tail panels to put on the car, and we had a tail panel with 3 races on it, and we did some repairs to it. We probably could have done a better job on the repair, and we put NASCAR in a tough spot. It's kind of like a trickle-down effect. I wish we had, quite frankly, done a better job repairing it, but we can't go back on it, and I understand NASCAR's position. This almost sounds like a parts shortage, which they've been dealing with parts shortages on the new car pretty much all year. So, I mean, if it was something that had 3 races on it and they tried to do some repairs to it, I mean, look, I understand that NASCAR wants to be tough on teams that try to modify, like, you know, parts and stuff like that, because this is basically a spec car. But I mean, I don't know, maybe the 6 team could have explained to NASCAR a little bit better why they had to do what they did. But yeah, maybe they shouldn't have repaired it to begin with and they would have been put in that spot. But you know, it is what it is at this point. It sucks, but that's just the reality of the situation. $15,000 fine for Ty Gibbs at Richmond for contact on pit road, but not for the slugfest between him and Sam Mayer. So how that came about was Ty Gibbs was leading, lost the lead to Brandon Jones, who ended up winning the race, and then Sam Mayer tried to basically wreck Ty Gibbs because they were going for the $100,000 Dash for Cash deal, which Ty didn't win, and neither did Sam Mayer. And Ty Gibbs was none too pleased with Sam Mayer and basically ran into him a couple times on the track, ran into him on pit road, got out of his car, got in Sam Mayer's face, and was exchanging pleasantries with them. Then he walked away. Sam Mayer basically went after him. Not in that way, but he was walking towards him because he didn't like what Ty Gibbs did, obviously. From what I heard, called him a jackass and also shoved him, and that's when Gibbs decided to throw hands, and it basically became a big brawl. And in the midst of that, a NASCAR official ended up being injured and all that. And Ty Gibbs basically also kept his helmet on, which I mean, you're just going to get a lot of flack from drivers and fans on that regard because it makes you look like a pussy. And in one fell swoop, Ty Gibbs basically made himself the biggest heel in NASCAR, to use a wrestling term. An even bigger heel than Kyle Busch. And there were a lot of people cheering Sam Mayer as well, although honestly I think both of them made themselves look like idiots. Ty Gibbs for doing the shit that he was doing. I mean, for one thing, running into Ty Gibbs or Sam Mayer's car on the track, and then running into him on pit road when there's other people around. I mean, that's not cool, which is why he got the penalty. And then, of course, he got in Sam Mayer's face for doing, basically getting run into, and then keeping his helmet on when he was throwing hands. I mean, it just made him look like an idiot. But Sam Mayer didn't exactly make himself look very good either, because, I mean, he basically went over to Ty, called him a jackass, and basically shoved him. And it's like, you're going to shove someone who's already pissed at you to begin with. So, it just didn't make Sam Mayer look good either. I mean, both of them look like complete fucking idiots, if I can be completely honest. But then again, they're both 19 years old. They're young. They're dumb. I mean, we were all young and dumb at some point. But, yeah, that's something that, I mean, it's pretty obvious that both of them have some growing up to do. But, they apparently were both summoned to the NASCAR hauler afterwards. They had a long, lengthy discussion, and I guess they shook hands, and they think that's going to be the end of it. But it's not going to be the end of it, because this is not the first time the two of them have had a run-in with each other. They've had multiple run-ins in the ARCA series before they came to Xfinity. And it's honestly looking like they're going on the same trajectory in their careers. So don't be the least bit surprised if these two eventually make it into Cup and the two of them have run-ins in Cup. I have a feeling this is not going to be the last time the two have altercations with each other. Wait, I actually agree with Kevin Harvick on a few things. So he had an interview with someone. I can't really tell who that is. But he was asked about shortening races and stages on road courses. On shortening races, he was like, I don't think any of us want to race 500 miles anyway. They, to me, seem like a thing of the past. In a sense, kind of. I mean, there are certain tracks that shouldn't be hosting 500-mile races. I mean, we got one at Atlanta and one at Texas, and let's be completely honest here. Nobody wants a 500-mile race at Texas Motor Speedway, because Texas Motor Speedway is fucking garbage. I mean, if it was a better track, then we wouldn't mind it. I mean, Atlanta, before, maybe not, but I guess with the new Super Speedway package, it probably wouldn't be that big of an issue now. But, I mean, there really aren't that many 500-mile races anyway. At least not anymore. Most of the races that we see nowadays are 400 miles, which for mile-and-a-half tracks and super speedways, I think 400 miles is adequate. I think we should leave them as is right there, because, 400-mile race at those tracks is, if it goes green all the way, is usually around 2.5 to 3 hours, which is perfect. I'd be fine with that. And on stages on road courses, we need to figure out how to not throw cautions. We have enough natural cautions that come with it. I agree. NASCAR, they need to learn what fucking local yellows are. They do not need to throw full course cautions for, simple spins or some other shit like that. They need to learn to throw local yellows. Every other racing series in the fucking world has local yellows. Why not them? So, yeah. I might not like Kevin Harvick, but, yeah, I do agree with him on those fronts. Racing returns to North Wilkesboro in August. Yes, North Wilkesboro. North Wilkesboro Speedway will host grassroots racing on the track's current asphalt this summer. Will be covered in dirt for racing in October, and then will be repaved in 2023. The revival of North Wilkesboro continues, and racing is returning. Now, obviously, we would all like NASCAR to return to North Wilkesboro, and Shit. I blanked for a second. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Oh, Bruton Smith's son. What the hell's his name? Fuck. I can't remember. Shit. I apologize. Google, help me out. Marcus Smith. There we go. Fuck. There we go. Marcus Smith who also helps run Speedway Motorsports Incorporated. Is it Speedway Motorsports? Is it SMI? Yeah, it's SMI. Speedway Motorsports Incorporated. He basically said that he didn't know if Cup would be viable to go back to North Wilkesboro, which I call bullshit on. Because, I mean, I don't see it going back right away, but I do eventually see them going back to North Wilkesboro, because it's like, come on, they used to run Cup there for, what, almost half a century? So, what's the issue? That's what I want to know. And you don't think that the Cup guys would love to return to North Wilkesboro on a very unique short track that has a unique uphill, downhill layout, where you go downhill on the front stretch and uphill on the back stretch? That has been home to some good racing in the past. You don't think the Cup Series drivers would want that? And also, I mean, how are you going to get your return on investment if you don't have the Cup Series go back there? And especially when you have fans there that would love for the Cup Series to return. They're ready for a reunion between the Cup Series and North Wilkesboro. Okay, it's not going to happen overnight. I realize that, but let's make it happen soon. But at the very least, racing will be returning to North Wilkesboro, and then they're going to be racing on the asphalt, that current asphalt it has this summer, and then it'll be dirt for racing in October, and then it'll be repaved in 2023. Speaking of dirt, Bristol Dirt will return in 2023 after good ticket sales, even though it didn't look like the stadium was all that full. I think weather might have had something to do with it, and also the rain delays I think also had something to do with it as well, because there were people leaving during those delays. But I mean, in terms of ticket sales and also TV viewership, Bristol Dirt on Easter was a huge success. And I'll be talking about the Bristol Dirt viewership numbers in the Talladega review, which will hopefully be later today. I mean, I'm feeling good right now, because I went to the flea market this morning and found this thing, so I'm feeling pretty good right now. So hopefully the Talladega race today will be good, and we'll have a good review for tonight. But Bristol Dirt will return in 2023. When that will be, we don't know. And then this last bit of news, and I thought this was funny as all hell. Dale Jr. wins a moon car race at Talladega Stroker A style. So, there's a guy named Michael Cozy Jr. who has his own YouTube channel, WinVal8820. I love the channel, by the way. I love the content he puts on it. A friend of his who goes by Moonhead, he has an iRacing series called Moon Car. And this was apparently on April the 20th, so 4 days ago, which would make this Thursday? Or is it Wednesday? What was 420? On Wednesday? Yes, it was. So on 420, Dale Jr. won a moon car race at Talladega, and it was in the craziest way possible. Words cannot begin to describe it, so here you go. Ain't that some awesome shit? I love that. And they also met up at Talladega this weekend, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty damn awesome deal. And of course, if you've seen an episode of Spare Parts High Gear, where I think it was Night of Destruction Volume 6, there was a segment where she went, "They're 5 fucking wide!" You know, that's the same series, Moon Car. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But that is your news of the weekend. We are an hour into this freaking video, and I've got, about 35 minutes before Talladega begins. So we got to get this review on the ball here. So let's get into it. Alright, so your review of the Food City Dirt Race at Bristol Motor Speedway. 134th episode of The Fuel. Title of this episode, Mud Bowl 2022. Last year it was Dust Bowl 2021. Not as much dust this time, but more like mud, because with the rain, that's pretty much what it turned into. Alright, so stages broke down like this: 75, 75, and 100. Much simpler. And they didn't need to take mid-stage breaks to change tires. The tires were a much harder compound this year, and they lasted pretty damn well, so that's good. So stage 1, 75 laps. Let's go ahead and get into it. Cole Custer started from the pole. They had a different qualifying procedure, excuse me. So Cole Custer wins the pole. Briscoe with a great run underneath leads lap number 1. Reddick gets by Custer for third, so the two of these guys are already at the front already. Bell starts challenging Briscoe for the leads, as was Christopher Bell, who's also a well-known dirt racer. All of the SHR cars, well, 3 of the 4 had to come in for overheating issues. The track was still a bit damp, so there were some mud issues. So they probably could have done a better job of getting the dirt and mud packed down. So Custer had to come in for overheating. Harvick went a lap down early, probably due to those issues. So the caution came out on lap 13 for mud on too many grills. So they had drivers come in and had the crews clean the mud off the front grills, which really pissed off Kevin Harvick and was basically like, yeah, that was stupid, which it was. So Briscoe leads on the restart. There wasn't really any issues after that in terms of mud on the grills. Briscoe leads on the restart. Larson up to second. Ty Dillon up to third around Bell. Yes, you heard me correctly. Ty Dillon driving the 42 car for Petty GMS. He was looking good early in this race. Kyle Busch gets by Bell for fourth, and then we have a second caution on lap 49 when Briscoe has a flat right rear tire in turn 2. That would not keep him back for very long. Larson leads on the restart. That was not a pure lead change, by the way, because Briscoe had a tire issue. Ty Dillon currently second, with brother Austin Dillon in fourth. So both of the Dillon brothers were looking good. We had an accordion effect in the back where they were kind of bumping into each other, and guy in the back hits the guy in the front. It was a little bit like that. We have a battle for seventh between Logano, Reddick, and Blaney. Then we have our third caution on lap 75, right as the stage is about to end. Justin Allgaier smacks the turn 3 wall. Looked like he cut a right front tire. And Kyle Larson wins stage number 1 under yellow. Then we get to stage number 2, which is also 75 laps. Rain was not that far away at this point, and honestly, if the rains came at any point during this race, I thought it was going to be over because of the way the dirt was. In fact, during the time that they were trying to get the cars back out on track for stage 2, it actually started raining, and the mud and the dirt actually started turning into mud, and Christopher Bell, I believe it was, actually slid off the banking because of it. So I had a feel. I had a hunch or a feeling that if rains came, it would have been the end of the race. But I'll give NASCAR credit. They stuck it out. They really did. So Suarez stays out and leads on the restart. Larson moves up to second on the restart. The inside line just really could not get going on restarts. It was always the outside line that seemed to have the edge. Briscoe and Bell bump doors. We have our fourth caution on lap 93 when Alex Bowman spins off turn 4. Suarez leads on the restart. Remember, no live pit stops, no competition pit stops because it's a dirt race. Kyle Busch goes 3 wide. Then we have our fifth caution on lap 99 when Corey LaJoie, Noah Gragson, Alex Bowman, and Kevin Harvick all wreck on the backstretch. Some of them took some hard hits, and several of these guys went out of the race, including Kevin Harvick. Suarez leads on the restart. Everyone's still in a pretty big pack. Ross Chastain tries to challenge his teammate Suarez for the lead, but then we get our sixth caution on lap 114 when Keselowski pushes up into Austin Dillon and spins out. Basically slid up, hit him in the left rear, but it didn't spin Austin Dillon out. It spun Keselowski out. So that's how that went. Suarez leads on the restart. Bell moves up to second and starts challenging Suarez for the race lead. Larson trying to get up into the mix as the rain gets closer, and we have our seventh caution on lap 127 for debris. Suarez leads on the restart, but then we have our eighth caution right afterwards in lap 133 when Corey LaJoie spins after contact with multiple cars. Suarez leads on the restart, but Briscoe gets the lead on the restart with a great run. Looked like Briscoe had the best car there. We have a battle for fifth between Logano, Kyle Busch, Larson, Blaney, and McDowell. Yes, Michael McDowell. Bell tries to run down Briscoe for the lead, but is unable to get to him, and Briscoe wins stage number 2. This is where some potential controversy came into effect. Before they were able to get started with stage 3, rain started coming down. And apparently because scoring has stopped in between stages, there wasn't going to be any position changes. However, some cars stayed on the track, including Kyle Busch, while Chase Briscoe and others had to come down pit road for service. And because of that, this is what led to some confusion among drivers. Now, because the field was frozen, and since they're in between stages and had not restarted the race, Briscoe was still considered the race leader. However, and a lot of people were under the impression that because he came to pit road and Kyle Busch opted to stay out, Kyle Busch should have been scored as the race leader because Chase Briscoe gave up that track position to come to pit road, whereas Kyle Busch did not. But NASCAR said that because the scoring had not restarted yet, if the rains were to halt the race permanently, Chase Briscoe would have been declared the race winner. Yeah, not really in agreement with that because Briscoe did give up his track position. So, I mean, that could have caused a major controversy right there. But thankfully, that's not the case. Although Ross Chastain's case, he was hoping it would have stopped right there because his engine was blown. Because there was some dirt that was sucked into the intake manifold. They tried to fire it up, but it basically went dead on the pace laps, and he had to pull it behind the wall. So, tough break for Chastain. So we finally go back racing after a long rain delay. Not only that, but Denny Hamlin had went out of the race earlier with engine problems as well. So now scoring finally restarts. This time with Kyle Busch in the lead at the start of stage 3, but Reddick gets a great restart and takes over the race lead and would lead the race for pretty much the entirety of stage 3 up until the finish, which I will talk about in a minute. Kyle Busch gets way loose, but hangs on and is now fighting Keselowski for 5th. Kyle Busch said afterwards that after it rained and they packed the dirt down afterwards, got the track ready once again, his car just could not get going for whatever reason. It took a couple laps for it to get going. We get our 9th caution on lap 162. Stenhouse Jr. spins in turn 3 after the 9 of Chase Elliott spins Cody Ware. It looked like Suarez and Truex with minor damage. And then Cody Ware, I tell you what, man, this guy, I mean, he's just a fucking lunatic out there on the racetrack because under caution, he actually tried not once but twice to spin Chase Elliott out under caution. Like, I understand that Chase probably, dumped Cody Ware in turn 3 perhaps. I don't know if it was intentional or not. I don't really know. I can understand being upset at that, but then coming back and trying to wreck him under caution is fucking bullshit. And then his crew chief afterwards saying, yeah, Chase Elliott was just mad because he didn't have anything for you. Dude, Cody Ware and the 51 team for Rick Ware Racing is the slowest fucking car on the racetrack. You're a fucking moving chicane. Okay, you have no business telling anybody that, oh, he didn't have anything for you. Bull fucking shit. You're in the worst car in the fucking field. You're a constant backmarker. This guy is last in points of all the cars that I've run, and he's like almost a full race behind the guy in front of him. I mean, what the fuck does that tell you? As a race car driver, I'm not saying this to him as a person, because I don't know the guy, but Cody Ware as a race car driver is fucking trash. Okay, he is absolute fucking trash. I mean, honestly, him and Joe Graff Jr. would go great together as roommates. Because Joe Graff Jr. is fucking trash in the Xfinity series. How he managed to win an ARCA race is beyond me. But, yeah, Cody Ware, he shouldn't even be in Cup. The only reason why he's in that 51 car is because his dad is the owner of the team. I think it's kind of sad that it seems like the rest of Rick Ware Racing is starting to get some speed here in 2022, and yet that 51 car is just lagging behind every single week. Get Cody Ware out of the fucking Cup Series. He does not belong. And don't get me wrong, I am not a Chase Elliott fan by any stretch of the imagination. I'm neutral. I'm neither for or against. I mean, I've criticized Chase in the past, and I could certainly say that he could have been at fault for this one as well. But what Cody Ware tried to do afterwards is fucking stupid, and his crew chief saying what he said makes him look like a fucking Nimrod. That's all I'm going to say. Reddick leads on the restart. Austin Dillon moves up to second, giving both RCR cars the top two spots at this point. Then we got our 10th caution on lap 170. Eric Jones spins off of turn 2, suffering extensive damage. Of course, I wrote down Cody Ware driving like a fucking numpty, because it was at this point that they showed him trying, on the replay, that he was trying to wreck Chase Elliott. Reddick leads on the restart. We had 3 wide everywhere in the mid-pack. Then we get our 11th caution on lap 179 when Todd Gilliland spins down low in turn 2. Reddick leads on the restart once again. Kyle Busch gets a fantastic restart, moves up to second. Logano and Keselowski trying to keep pace with Reddick and Kyle Busch. Blaney and Briscoe make some contact, but not too much. Briscoe slide jobs Austin Dillon, while Blaney does the same to him. This was the battle for 5th position. Then we get our 12th caution on lap 203 when Stenhouse Jr. goes into the wall down the backstretch. Reddick leads on the restart once again. Then we got our 13th and thankfully final caution on lap 212 when Austin Dillon blows a motor, which causes a major stack up, resulting in Kurt Busch being sent into the outside wall by Eric Almirola. So a tough break for Austin Dillon, who was running pretty good. And then it was raining again, so we had another rain delay. And at this point I thought, well, certainly they're going to call the race here and give Tyler Reddick his first career win. But that was not the case, because after another rain delay, they actually got back going again. Reddick leads on the restart. Briscoe and Kyle Busch go side by side for second, and then Kyle Busch drops back to third, as again his car couldn't get going after they had prepared the track. Logano and Larson battle for the 4th position. Briscoe starts trying to close it on Reddick with 10 laps to go and actually starts doing so. Logano, Larson, and Blaney start fighting hard for the 4th position, which brings us to the final lap, which I had already talked about, but I'm going to do it here for the review section. Briscoe tries to do the dive bomb on Reddick, but slides up and spins both of them out. Reddick actually managed to get it back going again, did one lazy little spin and actually got it back in gear, whereas Briscoe was unable to do so, and he actually ended up finishing 22nd. Reddick got it back going again, but Kyle Busch gets by him on the outside and steals the win at Bristol, leading just one lap, the last one. He actually ended up winning by 0.3 of a second. It was that close for Reddick. And that was the one and only pure lead change of the day, and it went to Kyle Busch on the final lap. Pretty crazy finish, to say the least. And I think it was that finish, and I forgot to show stage 3. Stage 3 was winner laps, by the way. But pretty crazy finish, and I think that finish was a catalyst for bringing Bristol Dirt back for 2023. Alright, stats and awards. Then I'll do the race results, point standings, F1 standings. When NASCAR standings with F1 points, give my final rating, and we'll be done. And with 20 minutes left before the Talladega race is set to begin. Alright, so statistics. It was a 250 lap race with 75, 75, and 100. We had 6 overall lead changes and just the one pure lead change, which means in the last 3 races we've had, I think, 3 total pure lead changes. So not very good, but hopefully Talladega will fix all that here today. We had 13 caution flags, so big number once again, although it was Bristol Dirt, so it's a little more forgivable. I mean, a lot more passes under green. We had 2,703 green flag passes, 16.1 per green flag lap, which is much better than what we saw at Martinsville, which was only at like 1,200. Lap leader award goes to Tyler Reddick, who led 99 laps, nearly led all 100 laps of stage 3, except for that last one, which is the most important one. So, I feel bad for Tyler Reddick. He's had a couple of runner-up finishes where it felt like he should have gotten the win, but he's been knocking on the door. His time will come, and I think he will be the next first-time winner this season. Star of the race, I'm going to give it to Ty Dillon, who finished a runner-up in stage 1, driving for his new team, the 42 of Petty GMS Racing, and then ended up getting a top 10 finish. So, terrific job by him. I mean, I've been critical of him in the past, but he certainly did his job here at Bristol, getting a top 10 finish for the 42 car. My reject of the race, obviously, is Cody Ware. I mean, I already mentioned it before. He's fucking trash as a driver. Get him out of the Cup Series. That's all I'll say about that. Race results and point standings. Kyle Busch with the win, led just the 1 lap. Tyler Reddick led 99 laps. Joey Logano, the defending winner of this race, comes home in 3rd. You have Kyle Larson, who led 27 laps and won stage 1. He came home 4th. Ryan Blaney in 5th. Alex Bowman, who's involved in 2 incidents during this race, ends up 6th. You have Christopher Bell in 7th, Chase Elliott 8th. Michael McDowell silently with a top 10 finish, and he needed one because he hadn't had one since Daytona. And then, of course, Ty Dillon, star of the race, at least for this one, rounds out the top 10. His first top 10 finish of the season. So, point standings, as we have reached the 1/4 mark of the season. Chase Elliott is the points leader by 3 points over his good friend Ryan Blaney. Then you have Joey Logano in 3rd, 21 back. William Byron, who was absolutely nowhere in this race. Like, what the fuck, dude? Absolutely nowhere. Did not score a single stage point and was nowhere to be found anywhere inside the top 20. I mean, wow. Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch are tied for 5th in the points. Then you have Martin Truex Jr., Ross Chastain, who drops down a little bit because of his engine failure. Kyle Larson moves up into the top 10. And Chase Briscoe rounds at the top 10. 79 points out of the lead. And you have Tyler Reddick, Eric Almirola, Kevin Harvick, Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, and Daniel Suarez rounding out the playoff field at the moment. Then the rest of the top 20 is Austin Dillon, Chris Buescher, Eric Jones, and Kurt Busch. NASCAR standings with F1 points. William Byron and Ross Chastain didn't score a damn point under the F1 system. Ryan Blaney did and moves into a tie for 2nd with Chastain. Larson becomes the 4th driver with 100 points. And notice down at the bottom, I don't have Brad Keselowski noted anymore because he has technically 0 points. He's actually at negative 51 in the F1 system, but he's not going to be shown anymore because he has to get back above 0, which isn't going to be easy. Then you have Joey Logano in 5th, Chase Elliott in 6th, Kyle Busch moves up to 7th with his win, Alex Bowman in 8th, Tyler Reddick in 9th, and Chase Briscoe rounds out the top 10. Rest of the field, Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr., Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez, Kevin Harvick, Eric Almirola, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Eric Jones, and Austin Cindric. That's your top 20. And then 21st through 30, you have Bubba Wallace, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Cole Custer, Corey LaJoie, Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, Ty Dillon, Todd Gilliland, David Reagan, and Justin Haley. And then your final 2 competitors, Daniel Hemrick and Harrison Burton. As for my final rating for the Food City Dirt Race at Bristol, I mean, it was a sloppy affair, literally, with how muddy it got at times. And NASCAR's call with that first caution, which I think kind of And it was pretty difficult to pass during this race, so we didn't see the abundance of lead changes that we normally see at Bristol. But, you know, I think the racing on dirt thing, it's definitely unique. It definitely has that uniqueness to it. And this race was definitely a lot better than Martinsville, and we got our batshit crazy finish to go along with it. So my rating for this race will be the same as it was last year, and that is a 6 on the fuel gauge. So a 6 out of 10 for this race, which is above average, which has been pretty par for the course so far this season. I think Martinsville has really been the only real anomaly of being such a total shit fest. But yeah, that's going to do it for this review of the fuel. I apologize for it taking so damn long. But we're caught up now, and hopefully have a very positive review coming out of Talladega. Usually the spring race is pretty damn good, and it's usually free of controversy. So hopefully that'll be the case here today. But the green flag drops in about 13 minutes, so I gotta get prepared for all that shit. So, anyways, thank you very much for watching today's first edition of the fuel. And God willing, we'll be able to do the Talladega review tonight, because I don't want to wait another fucking week to do the Talladega review, especially if it's good. But thanks very much for watching, and until next time, this is the Packer Man signing out. See you later. Thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, you jackweeds.